Everyone, and welcome. My name is Matt Hillen. I'm with the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity. We're here today to discuss a project that we did as part of one of our Disability Employment Initiative grants that ended earlier this year. We wanted to make sure that everyone out there knows that there's some new resources available for everyone to use, and really thank you for joining us here today as we kind of kick it off. And I want to wish everyone a happy start to National Rehabilitation Awareness Week. We timed the webinar to kind of kick off the week and wanted to come out with a strong message of partnership and system alignment, as you're going to hear from folks from across the spectrum of state agencies that administer a lot of services for job seekers with disabilities. And we're really excited about this project. I wanted to first note that, I know that the invitations for this webinar did, state that the Illinois Department of Commerce, would like you to participate in the webinar, but I wanted to make it very clear that we can't do this work without all the partners that you're going to hear from today on this webinar, from the Department of Human Services, from IDES, from our partners at the Illinois Community College Board, to stakeholders in this work like Equip for Equality, who are here joining us today as well. So we're going to basically kind of walk through a few very brief slides. Each of us is just going to spend a few minutes, but we're going to tell you how to access the Disability Employment Initiative, the educational videos that we have created, where to find them, how to use them. We're going to talk a little bit about the services that each one of our departments provides, and talk about the videos that we were responsible for. So first I'm going to do a quick introduction of just what the Disability Employment Initiative is. I'm going to turn things over to Chelsea to talk about how you use the videos that we created. I'm going to talk a little bit about what the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act is, and then I'm going to turn it over to our partner agencies to talk a little bit about their contribution to the project and really their contribution to job seekers all over the state. So with that, I'll go ahead and get started just with a little bit of background very briefly on what the Disability Employment Initiative is. So basically, since 2010, the Department of Labor, through two of their sub-agencies, both ODEP and the Employment and Training Administration, they have issued 7 rounds, what they call rounds of Disability Employment Initiative grants. These are grants that are about piloting system alignment in order to get more services to individuals, and specifically to job seekers with disabilities, under the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, formerly Workforce Investment Act. We in Illinois have received 3 of those grants. We received a round 1 grant back in 2011, a round 4 grant which paid for this work that we received in 2013 that ended earlier this year, and then a round 5 grant that's still active. These are geographically targeted, so if you haven't heard of it, it's probably because it's been happening in parts of the state where you're not located. They are small-scale partnerships, generally just 1 to 2 local areas will participate in this, and basically we're trying to figure out how to align services with folk rehab and other partner agencies and outside networks in order to increase the capacity of American Job Centers, what we call Illinois WorkNet centers, to help more individuals with disabilities. This video project came about as part of our round 4 grant that, as I said, just ended. We were able to, we had an idea and we discussed it with our partners, and everybody was on board. So what we did was we had different agencies and stakeholders help us to write 2 to 3 minute kind of bite-sized informational scripts for videos and on topics from everything from, you know, what is the ADA to how do I request a reasonable accommodation, to the other side of the coin, you know, for employers to find out how do I accommodate an individual with a disability, how do I grant a reasonable accommodation. So we wanted to keep things general. We wanted to keep things basically, like I said, bite-sized, so that folks could learn some information about this work and then learn how to find out more, basically. So we did produce 46 videos in all. They are all targeted to the general public, job seekers, and employers. We posted them all at disabilityworks.org. If you have not seen them yet, you can find them there. And real briefly, I'm going to turn it over to Chelsea to talk a little bit about how to find the videos and how to use the videos.
Thank you, Matt. And I did put a slide in the presentation, but I'm going to go ahead and pull over my screen and do a quick share of my screen. Matt, can you let me know, do you see the Disability Works website?
I do.
Okay, great. So on disabilityworks.org, to get to the videos, you'll click on the menu, and then under resources, we have a handy link called videos, very straightforward. And from here, you'll see we have all of the videos in playlists. So we have ones for workers and job seekers, our playlist specifically for employers. And if you scroll down, you'll see we have our videos covering state services. And then we do have state services for individuals that are ASL as well. So we did some that are in sign language specifically. Now, if you are wanting to put these videos on your website by embedding them, or you want to share them with someone, if you click on any of these videos, they'll take you directly to YouTube. So what I did was I clicked on the video title up here in the header, and it opened up YouTube. And right here on YouTube, there's a little share option. And if you get that, you click share, you'll see you get the YouTube URL, and that you can send to anyone. And if you want to embed it, you'll see you have the embed option right here. And if you click that, you get the embed video code that you can use on your website. So you can do that with one video specifically or an entire playlist if you're interested in that as well. So you can do that for any of the videos on the site. And we also have a short URL as well. So if I move my little share pod out of the way again, you'll see we have a URL, disabilityworks.com/DEI video series. And that will take you directly to the page I was just on, and you can access these videos at any time. And they'll also work on your mobile phone, or if you have a tablet or an iPad, that page will work for you as well in that view as well. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Matt.
So again, I want to keep this brief so that we can move on to the partners and not take up too much of your Monday, but I just want to make sure that everyone's aware of the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act and the partnerships that are really, you know, as this new law rolls out, are really helpful in aligning services to in aligning services for job seekers with disabilities. The Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, for those of you who don't know, is a law that was passed a couple of years ago. It replaced the Workforce Investment Act. It is made up of 5 titles. The four main titles for services for individuals are managed, administered by 4 different state departments in Illinois, those being the Illinois Department of Commerce, the Illinois Community College Board, the Illinois Department of Employment Security, and the Illinois Department of Human Services. Those those services include Title I services, for which my department is responsible. It's the reason why we got the Disability Employment Initiative grant was because they wanted to build more capacity in Title I services to serve individuals with disabilities. We've been so lucky to have core partners under WIOA in these other agencies that are all very excited about sharing that mission, and also outside partners through folks on the Employment First Task Force, and specifically in this case Equip for Equality, who was an amazing help in just helping us understand a lot of this work and helping us translate it into something that that we could produce and put out there for job seekers to use. So in Illinois, the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act is a set of services basically that can help job seekers either when they get or when they lose their job, or when they are either unemployed or underemployed. It also has a lot of services geared toward youth and a whole title under vocational rehabilitation that is geared towards job seekers with disabilities and youth with disabilities that are transitioning. WIOA services are offered at Illinois WorkNet centers. The kind of national parlance is American Job Centers, in case you hear that jargon. Depending on circumstances, you can be funded for occupational training or on-the-job training through the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. The AJCs, or Illinois WorkNet centers, do strive to be fully accessible. That is a requirement under the law. And you can find more information about where these centers are. I do have a map up there, but it's kind of small. You can find out more information on the services that you can receive and where they are at illinoisworknet.com. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to our partners that helped us in this work, that helped us to write these videos. And they're all going to share just a few minutes each of what they do and how they participated in this work. So first is going to be the Illinois Department of Human Services, and John Marchiaro is going to talk to us.
Hi, this is Tanya Moraviec speaking. I'm going to cover the Illinois Department of Human Services.
Tanya Moraviec is going to join us first. I apologize for that.
No worries. Good morning, everybody. Thank you. I'm really excited to be here today and participate in this debut of some multimedia outreach and education tools that we've all collaborated to create. We're really excited to launch them. I thought it would be helpful to start this morning in sort of describing the structure of the Illinois Department of Human Services briefly. IDHS is made up of 5 divisions. That's DASA, the Division of Alcohol and Substance Abuse, IDD, Division of Developmental Disabilities, DFCS, Division of Family and Community Services, DMH, Division of Mental Health, and DRS, Division of Rehabilitative Services. It's really great that we have 2 of those divisions here today that are going to speak about some of the exciting video projects that they created in collaboration with the DEI project. I also wanted to introduce IDH's mission because I think it's intimately tied to this project and some of the videos that we created. It is strengthening Illinois by building up lives and communities. Employment is a very important part of building up lives and communities and creating independence. Providing services and supports promoting competitive integrated employment opportunities for persons with disabilities is a core element of this mission. Our divisions work together to provide innovative programming and resources that help actualize the employment and independent living goals of Illinois citizens who have disabilities. And I think that this project is an excellent example of that collaboration. Employment First is also an important element of some of the work that IDHS is currently doing. And Employment First is a nationwide initiative centered around the principle that all citizens, including those with disabilities, are capable of full participation in integrated employment and community life. Integrated employment is defined as work paid directly by employers at the greater of minimum of prevailing wages with commensurate benefits that occurs in a typical work setting where the employee with a disability interacts or has the opportunity to interact continuously with coworkers without disabilities, has the opportunity for advancement in job mobility, and is preferably engaged full-time. So it's important to note that Employment First is supporting that competitive integrated opportunity as well as advancement. People enter the workforce and then they are motivated by advancing and following interest pursuits of education opportunities, and our divisions in partnership with DCEO are helping to create those opportunities for training and employment. Another thing I wanted to mention involving IDH's involvement in Employment First is they now are the administrative arm supporting the Employment and Economic Opportunity for Persons with Disabilities Task Force. Illinois is an Employment First state, and there's legislation supporting our implementation of Employment First principles and practices. The EEOPD is a task force that helps us move forward with Employment First in Illinois, and I'm not going to read them all off to you, but as you can see, it's a diverse representation that includes the education sector, DCEO, Veterans Affairs, all of our divisions, a 15-person public member participatory committee, and at least 5 of those individuals are disabilities. And I think this is important to mention because the EEOPD is making recommendations for positive change and being very inclusive in sourcing those recommendations so that we're hearing from multiple stakeholders and creating programming that is informed by our citizens and that will move the needle on Employment First initiatives. I've included the link to the EEOPD task force if anybody would like to learn more about that. I'm also going to talk just briefly about some of what IDEHS is doing to really get national subject matter input to create an Employment First initiative that has a lot of best practice and integration, and that is involvement in the Office of Disability Employment Policies, EFS-LMP, which is an Employment First State Leadership Mentorship Program. Illinois is in its 3rd year of that program, and we've been working with experts from around the nation as well as with ODEP to help us create increased employer engagement efforts, build capacity, create new tools that help with transitions-aged youth and connecting them to career pathways, and Vision Quest, which is creating structures to support and finance the action steps that we're taking. And I'd like to end on a little bit more information about the Employment First community of practice. IDEHS is committed to moving Employment First forward and being innovative. So I'm putting out a call to action. Please join the Employment First community of practice. It's an opportunity to connect with different practitioners in the field, learn some of that best practice, share success stories, and have your input heard. There's also a lot of tools and supports that come out of this practice. Those are designed with the input of the community of practice. So it's a very responsive kind of living community that is creating tools as we move forward. And the last thing that I'm going to mention that is part of that is a new tool that's supporting workforce development practitioners, and through collaboration with diversity partners from Cornell University, we've created a 4-part webinar series to support Employment First implementation. It starts October 25th. My contact information is up there, so if you'd like to learn more, please reach out to me, and the following presenters will talk more in depth about some of the fantastic work that's going on in our divisions. That's it for my part of the presentation.
Okay, Hello, this is John Marchiaro. I'm from the Illinois Department of Human Services, Division of Rehabilitation Services. We are the state vocational rehabilitation agency that provides services, again, under Title IV of the Workforce Innovative Opportunity and are one of the 4 core partners. I am proud to say that through the Division of Rehab Services, we provide each year employment type services, diverse services to over 40,000 people with disabilities. And for the last many years have been helping at or over 5,000 individuals each year achieve employment outcomes as a result of those services as well. Approximately 200 different qualified rehabilitation counselors work for us throughout 45 different offices throughout the state of Illinois. And we have a very diverse range of individuals with various types of disabilities that receive services from us. Oops, is that? There we go. We are an eligibility-based program, and therefore do have certain criteria that individuals must meet in order to receive our vocational rehabilitation services. For individuals who receive supplemental security income or Social Security disability insurance and desire to achieve an employment outcome, they have a little quicker eligibility into our program based on that. In that case, we would just need to really identify what specific services would be important for them to reach their employment outcome, and then go forward from there. For those who do not receive SSI or SSDI, they have a couple different criteria that they have to meet through our basis of eligibility. That would be that a qualified personnel has determined that a customer has a physical or mental impairment that constitutes and results in a substantial impediment to employment, as well as having a qualified vocational rehabilitation counselor that we employ through the Division of Rehab Services to determine that the individual requires services, and they also have to be presumed to benefit from our services as well, which is also a determination that we make. What we determine through a physical or mental impairment can in part be reviewed through the list that we have that is, again, not an exhaustive list, but is including but not limited to. But as we mentioned, the services that, the types of disabilities or physical or mental impairments that an individual might have are very diverse, and we take a very close look at that when individuals come in to receive services from us. There are a variety then of supports and services that can be provided specifically as it relates to employment services, since that is such a huge drive for us through our division. These services can be done either directly through our qualified rehabilitation counselors and staff, or through partnerships that we have with community rehabilitation providers. Some of the different types of services that we can provide include things like job training, job placement and supported employment to help individuals who need much more intensive type services in order to be successful, and ongoing services to be successful in employment. We put a lot of emphasis also, since there is a lot of services related to youth. We provide a lot of services for post-secondary education as well. That really helps to hit that target area specifically as individuals are coming out of secondary education, as well as different types of self-employment supports also. As it relates to assistive technology and different related services to help individuals attaining and retaining employment, if we identify that there are services specifically needed as far as devices or accommodation on the work site, we can help with that as well. Also, there's different types of kind of sub-services that can also be very necessary that people don't always think about in order to make sure that employment can be not only secured but maintained as well. Things when people get started off, such as child care and housing assistance, interpreter and transportation services, we try to look at whatever is going to be necessary to support that person so that they can kind of get on their feet at work and maintain employment. As well as specific areas such as for individuals who are blind or visually impaired, who suddenly realize that their lives will be changing and some of the things that they were able to do very easily are not so easy anymore. So we provide assistance with rehabilitation instructors and individuals who can provide different types of orientation and mobility around communities to get people kind of readjusted to navigation and finding their way around. In addition to that, the way that these services are provided are really based on the plan for employment that happens. So the plan for employment really drives the services that are going to be necessary. And of course, the plan for employment is the detailed list of ways with which the person will achieve their employment outcome. So some of the different, again, services that can be provided that we see often provided through our rehabilitation counselors include things such as the ongoing vocational career counseling and guidance, job exploration, job placement services that are done directly with one of our counselors. In addition, we also find that when the services are much more intense, we leverage the community rehabilitation providers in the agencies where we have offices so that they can help our customers with things like job development and job placement as well, and ongoing intensive support employment. We have of the 40,000 or so individuals that we work with, a good amount of them, and probably the majority, are individuals who are in that secondary education area, the high school students who are helping to prepare with different skills and assistance so that they're much more ready to handle what life is going to be like, including employment, when they transition out of high school. So we do a lot with work experiences, readiness services, such as what we call pre-employment transition services. And then as they begin to transition into post-secondary, we do a lot of supports with college tuition, books, housing, relocation, whatever it's going to take to make that service lead to a good employment outcome. Because we have a belief in serving, again, the dual customer, you'll see our videos are broken up between, again, the job seeker as well as the demand side or the business. So some of the videos that we design for the job seeker specifically would be an overall orientation to the Division of Rehab Services. What is it going to be like if somebody comes in to receive services from us? What can they expect? How will the process go? And we found that that was a real need to be able to get out there to share with people who may be interested. I talked a little bit earlier about the eligibility and services. We also have a video that talks more specifically about that. There are a lot of individuals who are interested in finding out how can I get a state job and how does that impact me if I am a person with a disability. So one of the videos we've done really goes into that as well, and some of the different processes that an individual with a disability can go through and the assistance that they can receive in getting that done. The real goal is to provide clear information to individuals with disabilities who are seeking employment and how you can benefit from participating in the VR program. For the employer side, there's a real importance on services to business that's been happening through the Workforce Innovative Opportunity Act. And so what we wanted to do is provide a general overview of some of the benefits of hiring individuals with disabilities, as well as how to recruit individuals with disabilities if you're an employer. We've got a lot of questions about that, and this is kind of a succinct way to go through some of that as a starting point. And again, it's to give the employer a better understanding of issues related to hiring people with disabilities, information about reducing barriers into employment, and really partnering with our division. And that's my section. That's what I have to talk about. Thank you very much for allowing the Division of Rehab Services to be a part of this video series.
So next we will turn it over to Darius McKinney with the Department of Human Services Division of Mental Health.
Thanks so much, Matt. Thanks everybody for this call and being here. The Division of Mental Health, we are very honored and pleased to be part of this collaborative. You know, we definitely believe that everyone, every citizen of the state of Illinois should have the ability to gain and maintain employment and whatever opportunities they want to do in their lives. The vision of DMH is the vision of the Division of Mental Health that all persons with mental illnesses recover and are able to participate fully in life in the community. We envision a future where everyone with a mental health will recover, a future where mental illnesses can be prevented and cured, a future where mental illnesses are detected early, and a future when everyone with a mental illness at any stage of life has access to effective treatment and supports essential for living, working, learning, and participating fully in the community. Our mission, through collaborative and interdependent relationships with system partners, is the mission of Division of Mental Health, which we are the State Mental Health Authority, to assure the provision of recovery-oriented, evidence-based, community-focused, value-dedicated, and outcome-validated mental health services in our system in order to build resilience and facilitate the recovery of persons with severe mental illnesses, and to help maximize community supports and develop skills for persons with serious mental illnesses and children with emotional disturbances. Our individual placement and support, that is the program that the Division of Mental Health does. IPS is the evidence-based practice of support employment. IPS is proven through research to be the most effective approach with helping individuals with severe mental illnesses return to the workforce, with the goal of attaining and maintaining a competitive, preference-based job within the community. Our research has shown, and much research has shown, that being effectively employed is a very, very important part of a person's mental health research recovery and mental health treatment. IPS helps interested consumers find work based on their preferences and abilities. Consumers who choose to seek employment receive supports that they need for as long as they need them. These supports may include help with interviews, benefit planning, routines and schedules, work relationships, managing and learning from job loss, and finding a job with a better fit. IPS employment specialists who work at our community mental health centers, they work on a team with other mental health professionals to ensure that both treatment and employment are used for remote recovery. Our video sections are basically designed to explain what our mental health services are, how to access our mental health services in Illinois, requesting reasonable accommodations, and also explaining about IPS supported employment services. Real quick, some of the principles of individual placement and support are zero exclusion, integration with vocational and mental health treatment services, competitive employment, benefits counseling, rapid job search, employment specialists go in the community and build relationships with employers, follow-along supports as long as the person needs them, and of course preferences and whatever that individual likes to do and want to do, we will look for those preferences for them. Real quick, here are the sites across Illinois and also in the city of Chicago and counties near city of Chicago where our IPS sites are located. All of our IPS sites are basically at community mental health centers who provide IPS services. We have 19 sites in Cook County, 7 in Region 2, 9 in Region 3, 8 sites in Region 4, and 5 sites in Region 5. And finally, we have a web portal for IPS called Pathways to Employment, Putting Illinois Services to Work. It's a one-stop resource on IPS support employment for citizens of Illinois, also employers and also service providers. It's a portal that gives a ton of information and links to a ton of other information, anything about IPS and helping citizens of Illinois get back to work, and also helping employers realize what resources there are out there as far as building up their workforce development. Thank you all. I just want to say thank you. I'm very honored, and the Division of Mental Health is very honored being part of this collaborative. I think it's going to be a great success, and we look forward to the success of it. And my part is
Darius,
over.
you got a question about zero exclusion.
Zero exclusion basically means that anybody who wants to work can work. So there's no criteria to keep them from working, regardless if they are symptomatic, regardless if they have substance abuse use, regardless of age, and everything else that become barriers for people of why people, quote unquote, think a person cannot work. There's no requirements, there's no zero exclusion criteria. If a person wants to work, they're immediately referred to an IPS team.
And then you had one more question about the benefits to employers.
Benefits to employers, a lot of times what we find out at our community mental health centers is that relationship building part, when an employment specialist goes out and job develop on behalf of a person and goes to an employer, that employment specialist is really trying to figure out the needs and wants of that employer. What ends up happening is that employer, may look at 100 applications that he or she has, and people are applying who really may not meet the needs of that agency, at that employer and the fits of that job. What our employment specialists do at our community mental health centers is to go out and find exactly, in talking and job developing with those employers, what their needs are, what they're looking for, what they look for in an employee. What jobs that are hard to fill, what jobs are need to be specific as far as somebody really wanting to do those tasks. So once the employment specialists find out, they facilitate that fit between what the employer needs and wants and what that person who's looking for a job, what he or she wants. And with that common need, 9 times out of 10, you fit the need and that employer gets a great employee.
Thank you so much, Darius, for sharing all this with us. The IPS model is just a really exciting evidence-based model. We were lucky enough under DEI Round 4 to contract with one of the IPS providers in Southern Illinois to help us provide some of the services under that grant. Next, we will move on to IDES, and we've got Richard Wethridge and Anna DeCenzo.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Richard Wethridge. I'm the Statewide Veterans Program Manager with IDES. And I'm also joined by Anna DeCenzo, our ADA EO Manager with IDES. Our mission at the Illinois Department of Employment Security is connecting Illinois' talented workforce to education, training, and jobs. Those are done at our American Job Centers. And I just want to make sure that a lot of people don't understand what the American Job Center is. And they know us more commonly as the Unemployment Office. So we're working on rebranding and letting everybody know that IDES is much more than unemployment. So developing and maintaining these connections through active employer outreach and engagement with job seekers, providing employment services through easily accessible technology, coordinated efforts with other providers, and provide human resource solutions linking hiring businesses to qualified job seekers. Our top goals are revamping the unemployment insurance, internet, customer phone services, improving the quality of internal processes to increase userability, implement a Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act to establish unified planning and processes, to access across the core workforce programs, and that's pretty much what we're doing today. Solidify the agency's position as the go-to resource for wage, employer, workforce participation information, and expand the agency's automated integrity system to reduce waste. At the American Job Centers, we provide core or basic and individualized career services to all job seekers. We refer job seekers to local supportive services based on needs. We provide priority of service. At any IDES office, you'll receive the priority of service as prescribed by federal law. Because you earned it, our staff will make it a top priority to connect you with the appropriate job and job training. And then we have Veterans Helping Vets, and that's our veteran employment representatives, of which we have 2, the Disabled Veterans Outreach Program Specialist and the local Veterans Employment Representative. We also have Illinois JobLink. Illinois JobLink is where we match the business needs for the job openings to job seekers that have the qualified skills and requirements for those job positions. It's a free service to both the employers and to the job seekers. Other employment services offered through IDS and its partners include workshops on job hunting, resume writing, interviewing, trainings, and federal contractor job listings. Individualized career services. We have our employment specialist and our disabled veterans outreach program specialist that provide individualized career services to help job seekers with intensive services to help identify and overcome or mitigate the employer barriers. The individualized career services are one-on-one services that include assessment and individual employment plans. The assessment covers the whole person concept as well as the employment barriers and goals, and allows the agency staff to determine the job seeker's employability. The individual employment plan lays out the barrier to employment with a plan to mitigate them to allow the job seeker to successfully gain employment. Veterans receiving individualized career services, IDS takes that one step further in that we actually go to the employer and develop a job opportunity to get a veteran an interview with that company. And we found that increases the veteran job seekers' chances of getting employment. And what that is when we develop a job for the veteran, that job's not in the Illinois JobLink system. That's working with an employer to develop that opportunity for that specific veteran. We also provide career information for exploring careers, to provide career assessments, as well as comprehensive information about careers, including educational requirements, wages, and outlook for occupations. We provide that also for employers that are new, that are coming into an area. If they want to know what the job market looks like, then we connect them with our labor market information, our economist, to help them determine what prevailing wages look like for the careers that they're offering, as well as the labor market that would be available to fill those positions. For more information on that, you can go out to our website and the link right there. Our agency video is an explanation of the DVOP program, which is the Disabled Veterans Outreach Program Specialist. It explains what the DVOP specialist is, and the DVOP specialist is a disabled or a special disabled veteran as determined by the VA compensation process. And it also talks about the steps to take before going to the American Job Center, because there are certain things that you need to bring with you so that we can determine the type of services needed. Accommodating persons with disabilities. IDS wants to provide persons with disabilities and disabled veterans with equal and meaningful opportunities and experience at our facilities. And this includes providing reasonable accommodations during the application employment process and while employed. Additionally, IDS provides reasonable accommodations for persons with disabilities. Examples of accommodations include, but not limited to, large print font, sign language interpreter, assistive technology. At a lot of our American Job Centers, we have assistive technology in there to include special keyboards, and we all have access to interpreters and the American Sign Language as well. And here's our contact information for both myself and Anna if anybody has any questions or would like to follow up with us after this webinar. Thank you all for the opportunity and have a great day.
So last but not least, we will hear from Barry Taylor at Equip for Equality. I just want to give Equip a special thanks, not only on this project, but in a lot of the work that we've been doing in their contribution to kind of helping us learn a lot of the legal ins and outs of this work has really, I hope, helped us strengthen the way that we service and the way that we serve individuals. So Barry, if you want to talk a little bit about Equip.
Sure. Thanks, Matt, and thanks very much for the kind introduction. We really appreciate the opportunity to work with you and DCEO and everybody else involved with this project. We think it's a great thing to get more information out both to employers, job seekers, and employees about their various rights and responsibilities. So this is an exciting opportunity, and congratulations to everybody. So for those of you who don't know, Equip for Equality is what's called the protection and advocacy system for the state of Illinois. Back in the 70s, Congress felt that traditional legal aid wasn't doing a great job serving people with disabilities, and so they wanted the governor in each state to designate an agency to really just focus on the legal rights of people with disabilities on issues that were related to their disability. And Equip for Equality has been the protection and advocacy agency for the state of Illinois since 1985. We're a private, not-for-profit. Our mission is to advance the human and civil rights of people with disabilities in Illinois. Mainly people think of us as providing free legal assistance to people with disabilities. We also do public policy work. Our work on the Employment and Economic Opportunities for People with Disabilities Task Force is an example of that. We also do a lot of outreach and training. And we also serve as a watchdog where we go out rather than waiting for people to call us. We actually have access to any place where a person with disability is, and we can go in and talk to them, access certain records, put information up about them, because a lot of times people with disabilities can't find us, so we need to go out and make sure they know about our services. We've got offices across the state: Chicago, Springfield, Carbondale, and Rock Island. And then we also are divided into 3 legal teams: the Civil Rights Team, which includes our employment work, Special Education, and Abuse Investigation. And at the bottom of the slide, you'll see our contact information. One exciting initiative that's just started this year, you might not have heard about, related to employment, is what we call our Employment Rights Helpline. And what this is we've always handled people calling about questions about their legal rights in employment under the ADA and other laws, but now we have a dedicated line for that where people can call. You'll see at the bottom, it's 844-RIGHTS-9, and you'll be hooked up with an attorney who is a specialist in employment discrimination and employment rights, and really can discuss any issues that's coming up, either you're as a job seeker or somebody who's currently employed who's having any kind of questions or challenges in the workplace. Our attorney can provide you with a lot of great information about what your legal rights are, can brainstorm with you about strategies. We developed all kinds of templates, so draft reasonable accommodation letters, and just a lot of very practical information that people can use so they can make the best decisions for themselves, either as job seekers or as employees with disabilities. And so we would encourage you to share this information with people you know who might want to learn more about their rights or get specific advice about an employment issue that they're addressing. Employers sometimes call us, and while we can't represent them directly, we certainly can provide them with information and legal rights and responsibilities information. And of course, sometimes these calls don't resolve the problem, and if the person needs more extensive services, then they can be referred to our attorneys for possible legal representation. We have another program that affects people with disabilities in employment called the Protection Advocacy for Beneficiaries of Social Security, or PABSS as we call it. And basically this is a program that's federally funded to help us with people who are currently receiving Social Security or Social Security disability, and they're looking to return to work, and they want to make sure they make good decisions about returning to work and understanding what potential barriers there are so that they can make informed decisions about going back to work and learn about any kind of issues if the work doesn't work out and how to regain their benefits, that kind of thing. And then once they're on the job, understanding what their legal rights are there as well. So one of the common issues we get is when people have Social Security overpayments, we can help them when the overpayment is related to some kind of work situation. We can also help people understand what their options are with respect to
the different opportunities for vocational rehabilitation, whether it be through an employment network using a ticket to work. And then also if people have issues accessing the Department of Rehab Services, we can assist on that front as well. And then, as I said, we can help people who are seeking to get accommodations in getting into the workplace, or if they're currently working as a person with disability in the workplace, if they have an issue arise there and they're currently still receiving Social Security, we could assist them under this program. And then, as Matt indicated, we worked on a number of these videos, the scripts for the videos, I think a total of 13, and I'll just walk through these real quickly. I'll indicate if they were for job seekers, employees, or employers. Some are for all. So the first one was, is the person covered by the ADA or the Illinois Human Rights Act? And that can be kind of confusing in understanding the differences between those two laws, and that's for job seekers and employees. Assistive technology in the workplace for employees to understand what their rights with respect to assistive technology, specifically as to reasonable accommodations is when that comes up a lot. The differences between the ADA and the Illinois Human Rights Act, that's one that's geared towards employers, so they understand what their responsibilities are under the two different laws. Direct threat is a video that really helps people understand the whole concept of whether a person with a disability is perceived as a threat to themselves or others in the workplace and what that means, both for the employees as well as for the employers. Disability harassment is another issue. You've all probably heard of sexual harassment. This is more about when the harassment in the workplace is caused because of the person with disabilities and what their legal rights are around that and the legal responsibilities for employers. And then we have two different ones on disability-related inquiries and medical exams. The ADA is real clear on what you can and cannot ask and what kind of medical exams you can and cannot do at the different stages of applying for a job as well as once you're on the job. And so we have one for job seekers and employees with disabilities and one for employers. We also have one on how to enforce your rights under disability discrimination, one for evaluating requests for reasonable accommodations and the interactive process for employers, and then two for reasonable accommodations, one for how to request one when you're an employee with a disability, and then one how to request one when you're a job seeker. There are a little difference between the two, so we divided those issues up into two fact sheets. We also have a fact sheet, a video, apologies, on the interplay between the ADA and workers' compensation rules, because that can be kind of confusing, especially with respect to disclosure and confidentiality. That one's for employers, and then we also have one that's rules for disclosure and confidentiality for people with disabilities, so they know, when they should disclose and what the repercussions are if they do disclose. So, those are the fact sheets. I do see that we had a typo in our office listing. We switched our office from Rock Island to Moline, so we're still in the Quad Cities, but we're in Moline instead of Rock Island. So I appreciate the person pointing that out in the question box. And that's it for me, Matt.
Thank you so much, Barry. And, I do want to open it up for questions if folks have questions, but, while I wait in case some folks want to type, I want to give a very, very special thanks to Chelsea Jones, who is not only running this webinar, but helped all of us who you heard present today to coordinate these scripts, to get them to the videographer, to help with captioning of the videos. She has put in an enormous amount of time in helping us to get this project done, and just does so much for our team. Chelsea's with our Illinois workNet team, and again, you can find out about a lot of the services under the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act at illinoisworknet.com, and find these videos at disabilityworks.org. If anyone has any questions, we'll wait just a little while longer. We came in just under the wire at 55 minutes. I want to remind everyone as well that this webinar is being recorded. So if you have colleagues, if you have other individuals that you would like to share this information with, it will be posted online at Illinois WorkNet and at disabilityworks.org. We will post that along with the Disability Works videos so that folks can learn more about what's behind the services. Again, I just wanted to thank everyone on the team here that helped to get this project done, and all of you. You know, we had a huge amount of people, I think 180 people join us this morning. So it's just great to get this information out here, and I hope that you're able to use the videos.
It looks like we did have a question come in for Barry. Is there a statewide listing for all offices connected to Equip for Equality?
Yeah, on our website, if you look under About, and there's a link for the offices, and all 4 offices' addresses and contact information is there. We do centralized intake, so the initial call can be to our main office, and our attorneys will do the interview, and then if it's one where we're going to handle it locally at the regional office, it'll be referred there. So you can call our Chicago office, or you can call any of our regional offices, and you'll get us either way.
Great, thank you. And then someone also asked a question, and I'm going to put it out to all our presenters, and Michelle Brookins also addressed it a little in the chat. She said, Charlene Jones asked, do you help a person with disability if they're going through identity threat? Where can this person go or call for assistance? I'm going to ask Barry if he could respond to that one.
It looks like identity theft, I think, was what was mentioned. And, you know, the thing that we do is we really work on legal issues that are related to a person's disability. So we wouldn't help a person with disabilities going through divorce because that's not related to the disability. We would be focusing more on discrimination. And just off the top of my head, identity theft doesn't feel like it's related to the person's disability. So that wouldn't be something that we would do. I mean, I would refer off the top of my head to the Illinois Attorney General's Office Consumer Protection Division. But others on the phone may have other ideas as well.
And then it looks like we've got one more question for Darius regarding IPS services for individuals that are from DuPage County.
Yes, I'm looking. In DuPage County, right now, we don't have a lot or any IPS providers in DuPage County. What I will say, though, there are potential providers who we are talking to as we speak who may become providers in the near future. They're trying to figure out if, you know, how would they implement and what would the structure be at their agencies as far as doing IPS. So hopefully by this time next year, we will have some providers in DuPage County. In transportation, how do access? So our sister agency, the Division of Rehab Services, we work together as far as providing IPS services. And transportation usually comes, you know, not answering for DRS, but when a person who's looking for a job needs transportation issues, that's possibly one of the services that the Division of Rehab Services offer.
This is John Marchero from Division of Rehab. I can also support that in saying what we would do is we would look at what was needed for the person in order to obtain an employment outcome. We do have a couple of different things and factors that we look at when it comes to transportation, such as the availability of public transportation as one of those. But yes, it's absolutely been something we've been able to assist with, and typically we would do that until such time as the individual has obtained employment and has at least received their first check from that employment. That's kind of a general way of looking through it. However, sometimes there are exceptions or different ways that we need to look at the situation, but that's typically the way that we would work through that.
Thanks for that. Just also, and if that person was also just looking for general recovery services at one of our community mental health agencies, that would be something that would be the agency itself would try to figure out, you know, what would be the best way transportation to coming from programs or coming from recovery services, or, you know, some of the outreach programs that happens at community mental agencies that come out and reach in the community. How would that case manager, outreach worker, ACT worker get to that person who needs the services? So it's a few ways that could happen with transportation.
Great, and I think, you know, what everyone has heard on the webinar today, this is all about partnership and our agencies working together to support folks. And it sounds like, you know, I can say from our side, and it sounds like from the DHS side that we do have a strong network out there in DuPage County, and we can all help to support individual job seekers. So what I would suggest an individual does is ask, and we will find a way to support them. So if there are no other questions, just want to sign off for everybody and thank everybody once again for participating, and thank all of my presenters and the folks who help us do this work. Thanks, everyone.